I lived a life of obesity that resulted in a lot of weight gain, weight loss, weight gain, weight loss, and anyone who has to battle with obesity would understand that. I also had diabetes, which is common with obesity, and I understand that connection because of my nursing background, but in spite of my knowledge and awareness of the danger of it, I could not control it. I would lose 50 pounds and then gain 60. And so in the winter of 2006, when I went to the doctor, I weighed in at over 300 pounds, which was completely shocking, unacceptable to me. I could not stand the thought. So I went on a diet, and I lost about 10 pounds. It took me until June of 2006 to do that. Then one day I was sitting in the living room, and I just began to pray and tell the Lord that I knew that I had to lose weight, but that I couldn't do it. And I said, you know, I have been trying to do this all of my life, and I just simply cannot do it. So if you want it to happen, you're going to have to do it. And I prayed that for a few days, and then I changed my prayer to a prayer for healing. And I said, just heal me. I don't want to be sick and die or be chronically ill and unable to be the grandmother and do my work and so forth. So just heal me. Then a few days later, I changed that prayer to thanksgiving. And I said, thank you, Lord, for healing me. And that was a prayer of faith, because it hadn't happened. I was not yet healed, but I knew that it was going to happen. So a few days later, I was sitting in front of the TV. I did a lot of sitting in those days. And Oprah came on, and she was doing a program on weight management, which caught my attention because that's what I had been praying about. And I got in right on the very first of it. I watched that program from beginning to end. Most of the way through the program, all I could do was sit and shake my head, because I knew that I had to cut down what I ate. I knew that I had to eat the right things. I knew that I had to be active. I knew that it was causing high blood pressure problems, that it had certainly created a bad case of diabetes in my life, and it was a must that I lose weight. But I continued to know that I couldn't do it. Until the last part of the program, the very end, she had a guest on, and a lady in her 50s, and I was in my 50s at the time, she said to her, she had lost 160 pounds. And she said, how did you do it? She said, well, I got up one day, and I tied my shoes, and I went outside and I walked. And I did it for an hour. And I did that every day. And she lost 160 pounds. I sat up straight in my chair and I said, I can do that. And it was the first time I ever said I can. I'd always said, I want to. I wish I would. I'm going to try. Maybe this time. What else can I do? But that gave me incredible hope. So as soon as that show was over, I tied my shoes and I went outside and I walked, which was not an easy thing to do because I weighed almost 300 pounds. I had lost 10. And it was 105 degrees outside in Texas, probably pretty high humidity. It was June the 19th of 2006. And I walked out my front door. I walked for 30 minutes, watched my watch. And after 30 minutes, I turned around and I came home. And when I walked in the front door, pouring sweat, I knew that I was changed and that I would never go back again. I didn't tell people that. It was dinner time. I went to the kitchen, found something healthy to eat because it bled over into my eating as well as my walking. And remember, the eating is the thing that I couldn't manage. So this was miraculous. And I know today that it was an answer that God was giving me to my prayer. And He continues to answer that prayer as I learn new ways to promote wellness and good health. And so within a year, by the next June, I had lost 140 pounds. That was 3 years and 3.5 months ago. And 2 years. It was 3 years I started, but 2 years and 3.5 months I've kept off that weight. And my life has changed. I'm healthy. I will always have diabetes, but I do not require any medication. I'm completely controlled with diet and exercise. And people will tell me, well, you can eat anything you want. Doesn't matter if you just eat a little bit, eat sweets and eat bread and the different things that I don't eat. But what I tell them is, no, I can't eat that because that'll be a trigger. And I'm not going back there. I've made that decision and I'm not going back. Herb never said one word to me about losing weight or being unacceptable to him. I knew in my heart, deep in my heart, I knew that it must be hard for him to have an obese woman sitting and standing next to him. But he never gave me any clue that that was the case. I believe that what has happened is that in the process of my change, I've learned to love myself. And if I don't love myself, it makes it very difficult for me to love someone else. So this man sitting next to me was my husband for 34 years, that I didn't love myself. And now I do.